So moving right along, the Enterprise, under the command of Captain Picard, has a diplomatic mission where they have snake people having to try to have negotiations and peace with their brutal enemies, marsupials, who like to eat snake people. Or at least that's what it looks like a mongoose and a snake. And I mean, come on, it's a bit played up for laughs in it, but that's not really the story. I mean, they briefly set up a scenario where the crew begins to suspect that the two sides are sabotaging the ship for the purposes of, preventing any kind of peace talks and that kind of thing. And you think, oh, maybe that's where it would go. Except there was no real mystery. You saw what the problem was at the outset. Along the way, they encountered this mysterious cloud. There's a little surge of energy, and then things start to go haywire and stuff. Oh, it's like a poltergeist entered the ship or whatever. But it's an intelligence that entered the ship and then begins to possess different members of the crew and jumps from one to the other and all this sort of stuff. And then they can't remember that they were possessed and so on and so forth. And what does it all mean? Meanwhile, things are breaking down between the two sides, and there are some altercations and whatnot. And one crew member who no one's going to remember because he wasn't a main character drops dead by coming into contact with the mysterious entity. And ultimately, it gets control of the captain and decides it uses the captain to take the ship back to the cloud because it wants to go back where it came from. Because apparently it was accidentally absorbed by the ship, and so it didn't really want to be there. It says, "Gee, I'm sorry about killing your crew member, but I want to go back." And this is going to take Picard with him. He says, "Hey, Picard wants to be an explorer of the universe and stuff, and I can give him that way better than this ship can." So they try to stop him, but he zaps them all, and then he hops into the transporter and beams out into the cloud, and scatters his atoms. And that's the death of Captain Picard, the original one. Well, the consciousness of Picard reaches out to them, and they realize, because they take some time trying to figure out if they can get him back, but they don't think they can. So Riker says, well, we're already late. We got to get the lizards and the rats to their peace conference. And but then they get a signal from Picard. Oh, so just, I don't know, magic. He's guided back to the transporter, and they beam him back in. And of course, he doesn't remember anything, but they're saying, oh, this is based on his patterns before. When you get into that, again, it comes to this stuff about the transporter, to where basically this is a copy of Picard. The real one was disintegrated and scattered into space. And so you basically recreated Picard with the transporter. The transporter is the power of God, really, So that's what they do. But, of course, there was the added thing about his consciousness had reached with him. And I suppose you could just sort of fill in the blank here that his merging with this energy entity meant he was somewhat like the energy entity, but he couldn't sustain it or whatever. And he makes contact with the ship, and they are able to beam him back into his corporeal form. And, well, off they go. And perhaps you might want to just avoid mysterious clouds again. Of course, they didn't really mean for anything to happen. They looked at it, but, well, what are you going to do? So, Miles O'Brien shows up, so that's something. He's just sort of there, but eventually becomes a regular feature, and then on to Deep Space Nine, So, that's about it. The snake people and the rat people were funny here and there, but that's about it. And dumb things, attempts at humor with Data. They've already introduced his interest in Sherlock Holmes and all that, but it doesn't go over very well. So, yeah. But, it's a Star Trek episode, mysterious entity and whatnot, but it's just one of those things where just don't think about it and it works. So the next one, the softcore porn episode, because you got all these beautiful people running around half naked all the time on this planet, and all they want to do is bang each other while they live in paradise, you know? Well, there's a catch. They're dominated by this mysterious godlike entity that's some sort of alien that can live within different dimensions, and their satellite station or ship or whatever it is appears and is very upset and doesn't want the Enterprise messing with its children. And so they come up with theories as to what happened here. The people do refer to a past time when they almost wiped themselves out, and then they kind of wonder if these are the highly evolved remnants of the original species of the planet, and they're trying to shepherd this, you know, throwback versions of themselves on the planet here. I don't know. It somewhat reminded me of the Eloi and the Time Machine, you know, except there's just no Morlocks eating them. Whatever. But right off the bat, one of the mistakes here, and they did say they studied this to somewhat where they were going to make contact with these people. Picard decides, well, take Wesley with you. Yes, Wesley can engage with the young people and decide if it's okay for the young people on the Enterprise to go down on the planet. Because it was so pretty and stuff, and they wanted shore leave. Plus, a lot of the guys just wanted to check out all the naked, horny people, you know. Especially Riker. Boy, he was having quite the time of it. And so they, you know, they go down, but you send Wesley? I mean, yeah. And so one of the things they just didn't bother to find out is that they did have laws, and very, very strict on them not being violated. In fact, every law that you break, the sentence is death. So Wesley is playing with the kids. No, not that way. They're just playing ball or whatever. And then he goes to catch the ball and stumbles and falls into this area that's, I don't know, some sort of garden, and there's just this cheap little, I don't know, canopy over it or whatever, and he falls into it and tears it up. Well, it's death for Wesley. So they were going to poison him on the spot, but of course the crew interferes, and Picard's like, oh no, this would be a violation of the Prime Directive if I save Wesley. And they make contact with the godlike entity through data. And they're like, oh no, if we violate our Prime Directive, then this entity won't trust us. And it was more powerful than them, so what are you going to do? They beam one of the naked girls onto the ship. She sees their god and is all overcome. The god's upset with this, so they beam her back. And ultimately the guy says, all right, I'll cut you a break. Just get the hell out of here. And that's about it. It wasn't much of an episode. Of course, it plays on the interesting aspects of God and the idea that aliens would be seen as God. At one point, they begin to think that Picard and the Enterprise crew are gods and all that sort of. Of course, that's a common thing, and it's, you know, part of ancient alien theories and all that type of stuff. So, you know, it's all fine and whatnot. But a lot of this was just, I don't know, a little too silly. It had its moments. The girls were hot. There's that. And, well, that's about it, you know. Hey, it's one of those things where, with the description of this godlike entity, it seems like it would be something to revisit and stuff, and how it existed and multiple places at once and that type of thing. But it's not really expanded upon later, so I don't know. But I guess they decided, hey, let's just forget about the naked episode. I mean, they're not naked, but they're damn close. I mean, I don't know if Baywatch had started yet, you know. But plus, they all had to run everywhere they went. Only not in slow motion like Baywatch.